Thanks for joining us. Now, the legacy of Kwejo Asare-Bafui Champon KABA lives on as the premises of Multimedia Group continues to host hundreds seeking to pay their respects to the late broadcaster. While some sing the praises of the late KABA for his fairness and professionalism in his duties, others extend heartfelt condolences to his young family and work colleagues. One well-wisher has even called for a state burial for the media icon. Notable among organizations and dignitaries who paid their respects Wednesday were the Church of Pentecost and National Service Secretariat, as well as former president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Gifty Afenyedaze.
I think that a great journalistic tree has fallen. Ghana has lost a gem. I mean, he has a unique interviewing skill. And for me, as a journalist, I think that we have lost somebody who had a great potential. And I don't think that that potential was actually maximized. So I'm just praying that God will keep him and cause his soul to be at peace.
How should we remember him?
I think that journalists must make sure that we remember KABA. KABA was not hostile on air. He had a unique attitude. He will get the information all right, but he will be civil. And I love that about him. I think that sometimes we get too aggressive, but KABA had a way of exerting the information, and we must all learn that.
I was one of those he had his final encounter with. I was here on Thursday with him together with the Deputy Minister for Finance to do a discussion on the 2018 budget. So when the news came, I didn't want to believe because he did not show any sign of sickness, much less get to a point that, could lead to the unspeakable. So for me, it's a loss to this country, and it's a huge loss to the young generation of this country. For me, I've always made the point that if we ever have intentions of changing our destiny as a country, it would start with the youth. And KABA was one of such huge pillars in the youth generation that could change the destiny of this country. And so for us to have lost him the way we did, for me, it's a major shock. But we can take consolation in the fact that his memory can inspire us to do the things he always wished for this country, that we would have transparent governance, accountable governance, and that governance as a concept would be an opportunity for people to take care of the lives of the ordinary and all of that. So for me, even though we have lost a young statesman, young as he was, he still was a statesman. You mention his name anywhere and everybody knows the name KABA, not because KABA is a popular name, but simply because of what he did. And for me, I would say that as young people, let's be guided by the fact that KABA came to do so much, and his passion was to see the young generation change things. Let's continue to be inspired by that, and let's not disappoint his memory by sleeping on the job, and that job is to make sure that Ghana becomes a better place for generations here to come.
You were on his last show, the last show he ever did.
Exactly.
What is your takeaway from that day? What was the last thing he said to you?
In fact, the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, your attire is nice." I wanted to find out who the tailor was. We had a joke about it. And I remember the last comment he made to me specifically. I was speaking to the 2018 budget, the medium-term prospects that the minister had kept in the budget. And he asked me a specific question, which I can't forget. I was speaking to the deficit situation. Then he asked me that, was it better under the previous administration? And my response was, it couldn't have been better under them. And we had a good laugh about it. Then he moved to the next person. That was the last time he said something to me. And I still can't believe KABA is no more, because he was full of life and in his usual jovial manner.
You had no suspicion that...
All at all. I mean, if anybody had told me that KABA would depart from us, I would have invited good spirits to take care of that person, because he was lively. And, you know, anytime you are on his show, he makes it so exciting. And there is something he has done which I can never forget. He invented a title for me, Vandal General. It's a title I can never forget.
As a secretariat, KABA has been a friend. He's been a serious supporter of a lot of the ideas we've propounded, and every time we've had issues, especially with our NSPs, he's been one person that had come out to support us and has always been the first to call to ask us what was the meaning of whatever we were doing. So I don't think at National Assembly we can ever forget KABA, even especially when he gave us a whole 1 hour for us to come and explain even our insurance. The last time we had an interview with him, and the way he coordinated it and how he was eager to make us come and tell the world our side of it. So for us at National Assembly, we believe it's a big loss. Those loss Ghana can never recover from, but we take gladness in God that in all things we should give thanks to him, and there is a season for everything. So we wish the family our full condolence, and will always be there to support the wife and the young baby.
I think on behalf of the Church of Pentecost and the chairman of the Church, Apostle Professor Pokunina, we came here to express our condolences to the bereaved family and multimedia group. In fact, KABA's show gives a platform for our listeners to listen to our chairman's ministration, which comes just before he comes. We've seen that he's a person who has packaged the ecosystem program to in a way that people's hearts are adhered or glued to that period. So when we heard of his loss, we realized that it's something that we had to identify ourselves with, because his program was something that pulled people together to also listen to the ministrations of our dear chairman. So we thought that what has affected multimedia will also affect Church of Pentecost, and therefore together we are here to come and express our condolences and wish the bereaved family and multimedia group God's blessing and strength to be able to go through what has happened to all of us.
In your view, what sort of a broadcaster was he?
In our view, what type of broadcaster he was? His demeanor, the way he cut across the various political divide, realized he wasn't a biased person. When he puts you on the spot, he'll be able to extract what he wants from you for the good of our nation. So he's somebody who couldn't, you can't say he's here or there, though we know all of us vote. But when it comes to how he handled political issues, he was one person who was a bit neutral as far as his presentations and the way he went about things was concerned.
Kojo was a friend, he was a brother, he was an advisor, and quite recently I used to refer to him as my campaign manager. His death has really eaten deep into my heart. The moment I heard it on Saturday, I was in Kumasi, I was going for a radio program. I entered the studio and then I was confronted with such distasteful news, such devastating news, and I, frankly speaking, I couldn't put myself together. I mean, the show became quite boring, and I was really down. It's unfortunate, 37-year-old man, a lovely wife, married last year with a small baby. This is unfair. This is very unfair. KABA has become a household name, and for me, and political talk shows, he's exceptional. His line of questioning and his level of intellect and this institutional memory, quite remarkable. And I think Ghana has really lost a child, a sharp brain. And multimedia, I know it's a big blow, it's a huge blow to you guys, I know. But one thing is that although KABA was working for a private firm, probably the biggest private media firm in Ghana. He was a national asset. I have personally recommended a state burial for him, and I'll still stand by it, that I think KABA deserves a state burial. In fact, when you consider how from all political divide, I mean, everybody is celebrating him. The president, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, this is sad. I mean, I know he's very devastated. Yesterday, he had to send in, on Monday rather, he had to send in His Excellency the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Baumia, because he was out of town. And immediately he comes in, he's going to be here. And then I hear today President Mahama is going to be here. President Kufuor is celebrating him. President Rawlings, and so from the way all these presidents are even celebrating, for me, I think my brother deserves a state burial. He's been exceptional. We have had our disagreement and agreement, but he always remained professional. He always remained unbiased. And you get NDC people accusing him, you get MPP people accusing him. That should tell you that indeed he was doing his work professionally. Rest in peace, Kojo.
Let me ask a question as someone who seems to be so hit by his death. If you were here today, what would you tell him?
I'm lost for words. It's going to be very difficult for me to answer this because I never anticipated his death. I never saw it coming. I'm told he just complained of a small illness. He was rushed to the hospital and that was it. Done. I'm shattered. And
now, petitioners seeking the creation of a new region out of the Volta region say they have been neglected for years, forcing them to make a demand for a separate region. Some chiefs and residents from the northern part of the Volta region, covering areas such as KJB, Buem, Krache, Nchumuru, Jasikan, among others, have formed a joint consultative committee to present arguments to a 9-member commission hearing the petitions. Ahead of the engagement with the commission, Secretary of the Joint Consultative Committee on the proposed Oti region, Kweku Adia, told pressmen they can no longer tolerate the neglect suffered for years. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Commission, Justice Stephen Brobe, has cautioned petitioners to be guided by the supreme interest of the country as they make their case. This is Joy News Today. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, Anthony Abaifa-Kabo, has assured Ghanaians that appropriate alternative routes have been provided for users of the Buipe and Yape bridges, which have been closed for maintenance works. The bridges have been closed for 4 weeks at the instruction of Sector Minister Kwesi Amwakwata, who described their state as deplorable. These bridges are on a critical road linking the southern part of Ghana to the northern sector and countries north of Ghana. Speaking today on News Desk, Anthony Kabo assured traders and exporters who use the road that the state of the said alternate route, I should say, is fair.
Indeed, the bridge has been closed under the directive of the minister from today. Indeed, there was some temporal closure, but yesterday, a team led by the minister and the technical man had another field visit and physical assessment of the state of the bridge. And the minister couldn't help than to say that it will be proper that we safeguard lives and property than to allow for this temporal closure to lead to a major disaster. And so the bridge, as we speak, has been shut down for emergency work to proceed.
And how long will the emergency work take?
Concrete will take time to cure and set and all of that. So we're giving ourselves a maximum of 4 weeks, by which time the works would have been done and these bridges will be opened to road users.
So is this work budgeted for, or it's just emergency work?
These are emergency works, but the government has been thinking through replacing the bridge, because this is a bridge that was constructed many years ago. I understand it's about 54 years old. Clearly, it has outlived its strength and needs a brand new bridge. It's so important because of the fact that this is the bridge that connects the north with the south and the other Sahelian countries. And so it's so critical that we take a second look. And I'm very much aware that through the efforts of the minister and the vice president and the finance minister, government is almost close to securing funding for the replacement of these bridges, including the Daboya Bridge, which will be an auxiliary bridge to support any time we have to close the Yape and Bupe.
Are there alternative routes that are closer to, because at the moment what we are dealing with are people having to pass through Yeji using the Eastern Corridor and people having to pass through Wa to Tamale. Do you have any other alternate routes for these 4 weeks?
And indeed, there are, as far as the technical advice we have, is that there are three major alternative routes for people to use. If you take the Eastern Corridor from Accra, Tema, Ohoi, Jasikai, Nkwanta, Otidamanko, Bimbila, Yendi, and then to Tamale. That's on the Eastern Corridor route. On the Central Corridor, you're from Accra, Kumasi, Mampong, Ejura, Atebebu, Yeji, crossing the ferry, Makango, Salaga to Tamale. Or Kintampo, Techimang, Nkranza, Ejura, Atebebu, Yeji, Makango to Salaga. And then the last one, which is the Western Corridor, is Kumasi, Techimang, Wenchi, Amboy, Sola, Wa, Hamili. And this is a very important, we emphasize, especially for those big trucks that, fly through the Sahelian regions, Mali, Niger, will have to come through the Western Corridor. That will be the best alternative route until these works are completed. Currently, works are going on to improve the road condition of these alternative routes. These routes, contracts were issued, but they were stalled for lack of finances. The minister has moved very quickly to ensure that the contractors are back on the site to improve the roads so that commuters can have some convenience.
Deputy Roads and Highways Minister there, Anthony Abai for KABA. Now, the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project is calling on governments to do more to save the dwindling fish stock in the sea. Illegal fishing practices and overfishing are said to be contributing hugely to the depleting stocks in the sea, making the lives of the rural women and the rural children unbearable. Honoring rural women for their role in improving food security in the central region, head of the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project, Maurice Knight, asked government not to relent in its efforts to fight what is called sea galamsey. Richard Kojonyakon has more.
In 2012, the European Commission gave Ghana what seems like a yellow card for its fish export to the EU market due to the country's failure to control illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices. The ban was, however, lifted in 2015 when the country showed new commitment in tackling the challenges. However, overfishing and illegal fishing practices, particularly inshore waters on small pelagics, continue to threaten livelihoods and food security. Women and children are the hardest hit in all of these. The boss of the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project, Maurice Knight, said while it was important to stress the need for efficient fish processing practices as well as improved sanitation and hygiene in fishing communities among others, it was equally essential for the government to work to fight the illegal activities on the sea to better the lives of the people whose lives depend on it.
But what do we mean by galamsey of the sea? It means taking something from the sea that has impact on other people's lives. Right now, there's a galamsey of the sea going on. We have so many boats in the ocean chasing so few fish. Many of you may see it already, but the catch in the ocean is going down. we are taking so many fish from the sea that we are slowly dwindling the population down to nothing, particularly those fish that you and I eat. Small mackerel, sardines. These are the fish that we all depend on. It's time that we take action not only on the hygiene and processing of fish that we get, but also take action to protect those fish that we have in the sea. The galamsey of the sea is a threat to all our livelihoods.
Executive Director of the Development Action Association, Lydia Sasu, underscored the worrying effect of the use of illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing methods and illegal mining, which were making women, who constituted a larger percent of workers involved directly and indirectly in the sectors, poorer.
We are looking at how we could restock or rebuild the sardinella in the sea, because our sisters along the beach, they are facing a lot of problem of poverty, and it's all like using IUU in destroying the fish in the sea, and then using other methods which is not even good for the human consumption. And this is a challenge that is bringing out poverty and not taking care of their children, and children are going through child labor, and the handling of the fish is also another problem.
The Sustainable Fisheries Management Project is a 5-year food security project that seeks to rebuild targeted marine fish stocks through the adoption of sustainable fishing practices and exploitation levels. Richard Kwejo, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Let's stay with issues having to do with food, because one of the key challenges faced by women who are in agriculture is their inability to have access to land to farm. Even when they have, they are given either virgin or fallow lands, which are less productive. Canadian-based non-governmental organization Mennonite Development Associate MEDA, in collaboration with local partners, organized the first agricultural land tenure forum in the Upper West region to solicit from stakeholders longer and more secure tenureship for women farmers in that region. Joy News' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam was at the forum and reports.
Having access to reliable and fertile land is key to the success of any farming venture. It is even more successful when women farmers have access to not only reliable land, but long-term access to them as well. Giving access to women to own fertile farmlands, agricultural productivity increases because farmers are able to invest in soil conservation and better farm inputs. In addition, household food security and nutrition are improved due to increased agricultural yields. Owning or having access to these farmlands, however, is not all that rosy in some parts of the country. The situation is always blamed on the culture and tradition of the people, which place women second fiddle to their male counterparts. Worried about the limited farmland space given to women who want to go into farming, Mennonite Economic Development Associates, MEDA, in collaboration with its local key facilitating partners, organized the first agricultural land tenure forum in the Upper West region. Key stakeholders were brought together to solicit support from them for longer and more secure tenureship. Upper West Regional Officer of Women in Agricultural Development, Elizabeth Cortina, blamed the low access of women to land in the region to customary and traditional systems.
In the Upper West region, family land and scale land constitute 90% of the available land for agricultural purposes. A survey shows that men own 71.5% more than the women. In patrilineal system, the male inheritance system does not allow females to inherit land because these lands may be transferred to other families on the death of their husband or when the female goes to marry from another family.
MEDA is implementing the Greater Rural Opportunities for Women GROW project, focusing on economic empowerment of women through the soybean value chain using a business approach. The project is being implemented in 8 districts in the Upper West region. Women are equipped to produce soybean, access markets, and extensive information and utilize soybean in their households. Country Program Manager of MEDA, Karen Walsh, noted that giving long-term access of land to women to farm will not only improve the living conditions of their families, but will make them entrepreneurs as well.
So what we're asking in this forum, and which is one of the largest forums of ever to be held in Upper West, is to talk about land rights and land access for women. So if we have land access for women from 5 to 10 years, we will see not only it benefit the children, the household, but the whole Upper West region, because we are looking at changing the entire way agriculture is done inside of Upper West. We don't grow soybeans because they are there for sustainable agriculture. We do this because we are market-based. We want our women to take their soy, to not only consume it, but also to market and sell it. And what we've seen is incredible. We've seen the incidence of food insecurity drop. We've seen our women be able to have their children go to school, buy their uniforms. We now see women going out there and they become entrepreneurs.
Some of the participants spoke about the benefits that the people will derive if women are given access to farm on fertile farmlands.
The women form part of us. The men at times are simply negligent when we begin to say, women, you are strangers. Then I can fathom it that way. How can they be strangers? You go and bring a woman that this is your life partner. So in one way or the other, you are saying that your life partner is a stranger. For that purpose, she wouldn't get access to land.
The chief can meet his council of elders and decide that if a woman is given a piece of land to do soya beans under this project, the woman has access to the land for 5 years. The chiefs can also decide to earmark, that's what the land use planning is all about, can decide to earmark an area just for women. So let's say you have 20 acres earmarked for women, that 20 acres will be protected. Now a woman can come in for 2 acres, for 3 acres, and she knows that nobody would dare go to the land that has been demarcated by the chief. So they are leaders, they are the political leaders in the community, and they are literally the policy makers.
Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, water scarcity for years plagued Eduabing and Asiping, both in the Bosomtwi district of the Ashanti region. Residents had to contend with rationing the commodity even from a stream. However, that is now changed with commissioning of 2 separate boreholes for each of the communities. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
This is the new face of Eduabing and Asiping communities. The biggest beneficiaries of the project, perhaps, is the Eduabing Basic School. The project came at a time the water situation was dire.
When this was not there, our children will go a far distance before they can get water. So I think it will help us a lot.
Before the construction of the project, we were suffering because of lack of water. Sometimes we went searching for water, and by the time we returned, we got wet. Now that we have this project, I am happy.
The project is expected to supply water uninterrupted to residents and nearby communities.
Due to the water, the children over here will be going to school late here and there. The parents are very suffering. When going to farm, they need to get water before going to farm, but they'll be passing through a long distance of process before reaching to their destination of water. We are very relieved, and you could see from their faces, they are all happy that this water has now reached to their destination.
A charity organization, World Foundation of Saudi Arabia, funded the project at a cost of 30,000 Ghana cedis. It brings to 63 the number of boreholes constructed by the foundation in various communities across Ashanti region. Sheikh Mohsen Bafi is country representative.
63rd project we've done so far. We have some in Abu Abu, we did some at Boho, we did at Bremai, we did at Efijasi, Asokwari, a lot of villages and countries. And this is what we are capitalizing on, impacting the villages at least to make sure that they get the daily necessity very easily.
He says the initiative is to promote access to quality drinking water in order to prevent waterborne diseases.
To serve humanity and also to serve our dear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At least we know we do these jobs to please our Lord and also to make sure that the people too live as human beings, no matter where they find themselves.
Sheikh Bafi underscores the need to properly maintain the facility while committing to continued assistance to bring relief to deprived communities. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
Now, still in the Ashanti region, some recalcitrant traders in Kumasi are continuing to resist efforts by city authorities to evict them from the congested central business district. Despite the many efforts to remove them, many of the traders still occupy streets, pavements, and other unauthorized places, citing inadequate space in the designated markets. They claim all designated market spaces at Abinchi and the race course are full. Love News checks, however, reveal many of the traders have acquired sheds and open spaces at the Abinchi market, but have abandoned them to sell on the street. Erastus Asaridonko reports.
Named after late Asante Hema Efiakobi Sewampim, the market center, also known as Abinchi, has facilities and amenities suitable for business far more than race course and other markets. A number of transport unions have set up terminals there, but the full potential of the facility is yet to be utilized. Now, these are empty tables ready to be filled, but you ask yourself whether they have owners. Yes, they've been paid for 200 Ghana cedis back in 2011, but their owners are occupying spaces at the central business district, congesting the city center. And that is what authorities are trying to do, to decongest, bring them back to occupy the tables that they themselves have acquired but have abandoned. Mr. Setofori is the manager of Abinchi Market.
When you come to operate, you pay 50 pesos, yeah. But because they are not coming, once you see the empty table, can you go to the empty table and take money? No. So we are losing seriously here. And as you can see, because of that, the place is also deteriorating because we don't get the money to make renovation exercises here. We have security men, we have sweepers and others. Because of the lack of finance, we don't have money to pay them. So the place is deteriorating. Yes.
So when you heard that the traders were saying that the spaces here have been already sold, and so they do not have spaces here, that is why they won't move to Abinchi. How did you feel?
They are peddling lies, because KMA have made an announcement to them day and day night, to them that they should come here. The tables are here for them. So I don't see why they should be in town and then peddling lies that the place is already full. No.
Mrs. Grace Ejedako is head of the dry fish sellers at the market. She's the only one out of the lot who relocated to Abinchi Market since she acquired the shed in 2012.
It was needless relocating them to race course. The money spent there should have been used to improve conditions here. The place is just a temporary space for those there. Most of the traders at the race course have spaces here. We were all there, and when the space was taken, it brought us here.
It will need strict enforcement of bylaws to get traders to utilize facilities provided by city authorities at a high cost, while traders continue to complain about space at satellite markets. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.